Family finally found Book 1 After the Dust Settles, Chapter 1 Food and First Meetings. Tom Wachowski sat in a booth at the only diner still in operation in Green Hills. It was a Chinese restaurant, buffet style. Main Street was torn to pieces and various businesses along with it had suffered damage. Drone shrapnel littered the area. It looked like a war zone, probably because that's what it was. It had been 2 hours since Sonic had defeated Robotnik. The giant robot lay twisted and dead in the forest on the outskirts of town. Everyone was okay. The Master Emerald was whole again, and the three boys had made a pact to always keep the emerald safe. He and Maddie had been overjoyed that their boy had survived, that they all had survived. It wasn't looking too likely for a minute, but they had won. The robot was down and Robotnik was gone, and Sonic was back to normal. Hugs all around. Commander Walters had spoken with them shortly after it was all over. Maddie stood tall, giving the man a piece of her mind regarding Gun's handling of things, specifically their handling of Sonic and Tails. Her mama bear was out, claws at the ready to tear the man to shreds for putting those kids in danger, for putting the world in danger. After a solid 2 minutes of Maddie's tongue lashing, the military man had held up a hand.
I recognize that shall we say, mishandled things.
Maddie's eyes flared.
What things, Commander? I want to be very clear on what you understand before I rip you anew.
Tom put a hand on his wife's shoulder.
Let's just hear him out, babe.
Walters nodded.
Thank you, Tom.
A stealth smile thinned on Tom's lips.
Call me Sheriff Wachowski.
The government man cleared his throat.
I was acting in the best interests of the United States, within the capacity of my orders.
Which were?
Maddie asked through gritted teeth.
To locate and capture that blue creature from our last encounter.
Why?
The woman asked, hands on her hip.
He didn't do anything. He's just a kid who wants to run and have fun and be somewhere where he's loved and taken care of. Why was the government so obsessed with him that you planted a guy to marry my sister in order to lure us into a trap?
That creature,
His name is Sonic. Stop calling him creature.
that Sonic caused an 800-mile blackout and took down 2 satellites. He holds immeasurable power. We couldn't let it go unchecked, or risk it falling into the wrong hands.
And has it?
Tom asked, crossing his arms.
In all those months after the first mess with Robotnik, has there ever been another one of those power bursts, or any indication he's up to no good? Has there been any hint that he was causing mayhem?
You were hiding him.
We were taking care of him. We made sure he ate his vegetables and brushed his teeth and tended to his skinned knees and sat with him after nightmares and made sure he had fun and felt safe. He's been hiding his entire life. We gave him a home, a family.
He's not dangerous, unless you're an insane former government agent bent on world domination and destruction of everyone and everything he holds dear. Then it kinda ticks him off.
Tom added as he shook his head. Walters considered this for a moment.
To be fair, he didn't attack any of us once he had regained consciousness after his capture.
Tom held out a hand.
There you go.
You did, however.
I regret nothing. I'd do it again, without hesitation.
He's our kid, and you're not getting him, not without a fight. The others too. They're a package deal now.
Maddie said, her hands curled into fists. The government man furrowed his brow.
The others,
Package deal.
There really is no talking to her when she gets like this. You might as well give up.
Walters studied the couple for a moment before uttering a heavy sigh. He motioned for another agent to join them. The second agent hurried over, and the commander leaned close to mutter something in the newcomer's ear. The new agent nodded, hurrying off. The commander turned back to the couple.
in light of unique circumstances surrounding the parties of interest, I have determined you two are the ideal guardians for these new arrivals. I'm having the appropriate paperwork drawn up to declare those three protected by you, and by extension, the US government.
So you're not going to try to take them? You'll stay out of our lives?
Maddie asked, arms crossed. Walter nodded.
Legally speaking, they are your responsibility. We may check in from time to time, but their daily care will fall on you.
Tom held up a finger.
Can we get a clause in there for some government assistance should any unintended damages occur in the course of caring for these three kids?
Maddie gave him a look.
What, 3 superpowered kids in the house? You don't think some sort of monumental damage might take place?
Yeah, that's fair.
I don't see that as a problem.
Walter said, turning to look towards the three kids in question. They sat on the curb down the way, seemingly joking with each other. The blue one said something, the little fox laughed, and the red one scowled, giving the blue hedgehog a punch in the arm, the blue sending the boy sliding a few feet down the sidewalk. Walters turned back to the couple before him.
I'll find you when the paperwork is ready to be signed.
He glanced over at the kids again before looking back.
Good luck.
That had been a little over an hour ago. At the time, he and Maddie had been thrilled about the arrangement. No more fear of the government swooping in for Sonic in the middle of the night. No more worrying about someone posting a photo of the boy online and drawing the wrong kind of attention. They both let go of the stress they'd been holding for 8 long months. Sonic was safe. But now, the adrenaline had worn off. Tom sat stunned and dazed in the booth. The boys sat in another booth, their plates piled high with various noodles, rice, and chicken. Sonic hadn't stopped smiling since the end of the fight. He chatted constantly with, or more precisely at, the others, gesturing excitedly and laughing. Between conversations, he ate with gusto, finishing his plate and heading for seconds, thirds, Tom lost count, with his trademark speed. The fox, Tails, seemed slightly more shy, although he looked at Sonic with obvious hero worship. He thoughtfully munched on his chicken, kicking his legs under the table. The red one, Tom wasn't quite sure what his species or name was, sat more stoic, studying the food on his plate with a serious demeanor. He sniffed each piece before eating it, sometimes giving his head a nod when something pleased his taste buds. The Master Emerald sat beside him, and he occasionally gave it a quick touch, seemingly to ensure it was still there.
Hear that? That's the sound of our grocery bill going through the roof.
Yeah,
He sighed, poking at his own plate of food. He found he wasn't as hungry as he originally thought.
What's with the face?
His wife asked, covering his hands with hers.
It's over. They're okay. We're okay. The town isn't as bad off as it seems. We'll get things fixed up in no time.
yeah, I know, you're right. It's just a lot.
He dropped his fork and rubbed his eyes.
What is?
He looked at her in disbelief, gesturing around himself.
Everything? In the span of less than a year, our lives have been completely turned upside down. We discovered the existence of a powerful alien boy, had to deal with that nutjob Robotnik, took the kid in, fought the government agents, and had to deal with Robotnik again. And now we have 2 more alien kids to take care of. And to add to that, the damage and danger to the town. And you've got one big messed up scenario.
He rested his crossed arms on the table.
Seriously, Maddie, how are you so calm through this?
She shrugged.
I roll with the punches.
She paused, looking over at the boys.
And if it helps that I've got other things to focus on.
He followed her gaze.
Are you sure we should be taking responsibility for those other 2? We don't even know anything about them.
Sonic trusts them.
No offense to the little guy, but he can be a bit too trusting sometimes.
She turned back.
He trusted you.
Tom sighed, rubbing the back of his neck.
Yeah, he did. But he had been watching us for a while. He just met these 2.
They risked their lives to help defeat Robotnik and save not only Green Hills, but the world. The universe even. I'd say they're pretty trustworthy.
He ran a hand over his face.
Yeah, I guess.
She offered him a small smile, taking his hand.
Tom, where else are they gonna go?
He shrugged.
We might be jumping the gun. For all we know, they might be planning to leave now that the emerald is found and secured.
She shook her head.
I don't think so. I think if they were going to leave, they would have done it by now. They all seemed pretty excited when we suggested food.
So, maybe they don't want to travel on an empty stomach.
She raised an eyebrow at him.
Why are you so determined to get rid of them?
Tom shook his head.
I'm not.
She gave him a look.
Really, I'm not. I'm just...
He sighed, running a hand through his hair.
I don't know. Maybe the idea of being responsible for 2 more kids with amazing yet mildly terrifying powers is...
A what?
a lot.
They sat quietly for a moment, watching the boys interact. Maddie held his hand, giving a little squeeze as she turned to him.
They seem to be slowing down. Maybe we should head over and talk to them? It seems unfair that we're making decisions for them without their input.
Good point. Let's go have a chat.
Tom and Maddie sat opposite to the 3 boys in the booth. Bellies now full, the boys had stacked their plates neatly at the end of the table. Now the 5 simply sat there, looking at each other.
Well, how was the food?
Maddie said, offering them a warm smile. Her mind raced. What does one say to superpowered boys who had just fought a giant robot bent on destroying them?
So good! Oh man, who knew harnessing the power of those gens and turning into a literal god could work up such an appetite?
Sonic said, rolling his eyes up.
Great!
She looked at the little fox.
Tails isn't?
He nodded, a shy smile on his lips.
How was yours?
It was really good. I haven't had a meal like that in I don't even know how long.
He said, trying to sit up tall. His shoulders were even with the table height.
Were you traveling much before you came here?
Tails nodded.
My tracker couldn't narrow down exactly where Earth was, so I had a few detours. Ran into some bad guys and a few tricky situations, but I finally found Sonic.
If I had met you before Robotnik, all of this might have been avoided. Maybe we wouldn't have fought at all.
The red boy said, his voice deep and grave.
I'm sorry, I don't think we caught your name. I'm Maddie Wachowski.
Maddie said, holding her hand out. Sonic sat up straighter.
No, Maddie. You don't want to do that.
I am called Knuckles, the last of the mighty Echidna warriors.
He reached out and took Maddie's hand, squeezing as he had done with Sonic and Robotnik. Maddie thought, He reached out and took Maddie's hand, squeezing as he had done with Sonic, Stone, and Robotnik. Maddie's eyebrows raised as he took her hand into his. Kid had quite the grip. She gave him a playful smile and squeezed his hand as hard as she could. A look of surprise passed his face, and he smiled.
Ah, the heart of a warrior. I can see why the hedgehog is so fond of you.
Hey, I'm a warrior too. I'm Tom Wachowski, Sheriff and Donut Lord.
Knuckles took his hand, giving it a trademark squeeze. Tom squeezed back, drawing another laugh from the echidna.
Your hand squeeze is much mightier than that of Robotnik and his minion.
Yeah, thanks. That's the second time you mentioned Robotnik. How do you know him?
I found him on a planet of mushrooms. He helped the Quill of Sonic, who I was seeking in order to discover the location of the Master Emerald.
Longclaw's people and his people were fighting over it. The owls hid it from the echidnas, and he thought I knew where it was.
Robotnik deceived me, made me believe the hedgehog was my enemy, and brought me to Earth to Sonic's home. I delivered a surprise attack, one I now realize was unnecessary.
His home?
Tom said, arching a brow at Sonic.
Surprise attack?
Maddie asked, arching an identical brow.
Hey, it wasn't that bad. I was fine.
The hedgehog stammered, waving a hand.
I nearly destroyed you. Do you not remember my hand around your throat?
The echidna said, giving him a questioning look. Maddie blinked.
What?
That's when I hit Knuckles with the police car I stole, saving Sonic's life.
Tom's jaw dropped.
You stole a police car?
Maddie's eyes went wide.
You ran him over?
Oh, did I say stole? No, I meant borrowed. And technically, I didn't run him over. I just hit him while going 60 miles per hour with the front of the car. But he's fine. He's really strong, and the shed broke his fall.
Tom rubbed his forehead.
Okay, I feel like we're in for a shock when we get home. Any other damage I should know about?
Your walls have large holes in them.
From your unnecessary surprise attack?
Yes. Your son can withstand much in battle. It was very impressive.
They're not my parents.
Sonic said, a shaky smile on his face.
They're my friends.
Your friends, who you live with, in their home, and they care for you enough to almost die with you? They called you their child.
Knuckles asked, eyebrow raised. Sonic's smile faded as his brow wrinkled.
Yeah?
Hold on. Can we get back to the whole fox in a stolen car thing?
Maddie said, holding up a hand.
Is that bad? I was going to return it until it blew up.
Tails asked, seeming to shrink in on himself. Tom groaned.
Oh, this just gets better and better.
How old are you?
Maddie asked, trying to keep her voice calm and level only to somewhat succeed. Tails shrank more.
8?
Her eyes went wide.
And you've been running around the galaxy all alone?
The fox boy shrugged, dropping his gaze.
I've always been alone.
His voice was quiet. He wouldn't look at her. Maddie softened.
Always?
Tails nodded, picking at one of his gloves.
My extra tail is different. The people in my village, well, they...
We're fools.
All eyes moved to Knuckles. He shook his head, placing a gentle hand on Tails' shoulder.
Your additional tail is a great benefit to you. It allows you to fly and escape danger, or perform surveillance on your enemies. I believe you had been gifted by the gods with such a power.
Tails' ears perked. He smiled.
You really think so?
The echidna gave a curt nod.
In my tribe, you would have been regarded as a good omen, a blessing from the gods. You would have been well cared for and treated with respect and honor.
The little fox sat straighter, his smile widening.
Really?
The echidna nodded.
Thanks, Knuckles.
And even though I am well within my rights to enact vengeance for hitting me with the car, I have decided to forgive you. You were merely acting on the information you had at the time, and I was trying to destroy Sonic. I must admit, it was a very effective sneak attack.
Knuckles cast a sideways glance to the fox, a small smile curling on his mouth. Tails giggled.
Yeah, I got you pretty good.
Knuckles sat straight, holding his head high.
I was unharmed because I am strong, merely winded. I recovered quickly.
Yeah, you gave a good chase. If I weren't on the receiving end of that rage and violence at the time, I would have found it really impressive.
I am impressive,
The echidna sat, puffing out his chest.
and I would have caught you easily had you not driven off the edge of a cliff.
I'm sorry, what? A cliff?
Tom said, leaning forward.
Off Mountain Pass Lane, with the steep drop-offs.
And that's how the car blew up.
The hedgehog nodded.
Nux was on the roof wailing on it pretty good before that, so it wasn't exactly in the best shape anyway.
Tom sat silent, his lips pulled in a thin line.
Well, I'm glad you're all okay.
Maddie said, giving her husband a little nudge under the table with her knee.
And that you've all become friends. I think things would have ended up very differently if you had still been enemies.
Knuckles nodded.
Yes, Robotic was no match for our combined skills, although it was my blow that removed the emeralds from his clutches.
Hey, I'm the one who got you there in the first place, and my holograms distracted him.
Hello? I'm the one who drew his attention so you two could sneak up on him. And he was shooting missiles at me.
It sounds to me like this was a group effort. It couldn't have succeeded at all if any one of you hadn't been there to help. You needed each other. You trusted each other. You're stronger together.
As the boys considered this, Maddie glanced at her husband. She smiled, raising her brows. He nodded, catching her meaning, a smile of his own on his lips. He cleared his throat.
So, what's the plan for you two now?
Sonic's eyes went wide.
What do you mean? I thought we were gonna...
I must find a safe place for the Master Emerald. As long as it exists, it is a danger. It is my destiny to keep watch and make sure it does not fall into the wrong hands.
Knuckles replied, pulling the emeralds closer. The little fox's ears dropped. He wrapped his twin tails around himself, hugging and stroking them for comfort.
I hadn't thought about what happens after everything was done. I guess I could go back to my village.
Where they made fun of you and called you names?
Sonic said, standing up in the booth.
No way, I don't think so.
He turned to Tom and Maddie.
We can't let him go back there.
The fox can join me. Together we will travel in search of a safe place to contain the emerald.
Knuckles said, pounding his chest with a mighty fist.
Oh, go with you? I don't know.
Tails said, hugging his tails tighter.
No, you can't go. Neither of you can go. We have to stick together.
Now, buddy, we can't stand in their way if they want to go.
Sonic looked back and forth between Tom and his new friends with mounting panic.
No,
His eyes flashed from green to blue, a faint glow lit them.
they don't want to go. I don't want them to go. You have to.
Maddie slapped her husband.
For crying out loud, Thomas. You're really upsetting him. Honey, calm down. He's just taking his teasing too far. Again.
The hedgehog looked between the two adults.
Teasing?
Yes. Now take a breath and sit down, please.
The hedgehog did as he was asked, his eyes fading back to green.
Donut door.
He muttered, giving Tom the stink eye.
What's going on?
Tails asked, almost lost in his tails. They had fluffed up considerably in his discomfort. Maddie turned back to the boys.
Tails, Knuckles, Tom's right in that you're free to go if you want. We won't stop you. But if you'd like to stay here on Earth, we would be glad to have you.
The fox's tails withdrew slightly.
Glad to. You mean we could stay with you?
Yep, for as long as you like. We can't guarantee wacky, exciting adventures all the time, but you'll have a warm home, plenty of food, and people will care about you.
She leaned forward, locking eyes with the fox kit.
You'll be safe, and no one will ever make fun of you, for as long as I have anything to say about it.
Tails looked hesitant for a few seconds. Maddie had an idea he was scared to feel hope.
Really?
Really.
The boy's face split into a wide grin.
Okay, I'd like that.
Good, I'm glad.
I must continue my duty. The Master Emerald must be protected.
Knuckles said, shaking his head.
That's true. That little gem is incredibly dangerous if it fell into the wrong hands. But you know what I'm thinking?
Knuckles drew his brows low, giving a little head shake.
It took you, a mighty skilled warrior who was specifically looking for the thing, a long time to actually find it. And even when you knew where it was, you had trouble pinpointing its exact location.
It was well hidden.
The echidna said, his lips curling to show teeth. He had apparently taken it as an insult.
Yes, it was. So well hidden, in fact, that you needed help to finally locate it.
Tom continued, leaning forward.
What is your point? Are you mocking me?
Tom locked eyes with the echidna.
Absolutely not. My point, big guy, is that the emerald has been safe for all those years it was hidden here. No one can find it, not even you. But now that you have it, and you know where it is.
Knuckles looked down at the gem in his lap, the snarl relaxing from his muscle.
I can watch over it and keep it safe anywhere.
He said, his voice quiet. Tom nodded.
And what better place than on the very planet where it had already been well hidden?
And we did all promise we'd all protect it. We power bumped on it. It would be easier if we were all together.
Tails said, a smile curling on the corner of his lips. The echidna furrowed his brow, thinking. He clutched the emerald tightly in his fists. After a moment, he straightened up, looking between Tom and Maddie.
I've decided to stay under one condition.
Name it.
Maddie said, crossing arms.
I would like grapes.
She raised an eyebrow.
Grapes?
Yes, they are delicious.
Maddie leaned forward, her eyes narrowed.
Done.
She said, extending her hand.
You drive a hard bargain, Echidna.
Knuckles gave a short laugh, taking her hand in another crushing shake.
Then we are agreed. I shall stay so we all may protect the Master Emerald and you will supply me with grapes. A good deal has been made this day.
Yes, 2 more for the Wachowski family.
Sonic shouted, pumping up a fist into the air. Tom and Maddie exchanged a glance. She shook her head. Sonic's disconnect between calling them a family, yet refusing to refer to them as his parents, was a topic for another day. Right now, their family had grown by 2, and there was going to be some adjusting to that for everyone.
Okay, what you say we finish up here and head home to survey the damage? No sense in putting off the inevitable.
Tom said, pushing himself up from the booth.
Yeah, the house is a bit of a mess, Ozzy!
Sonic cried, slapping a hand over his forehead.
Oh my gosh. In all of the excitement, I forgot about him. He was at the house when Robotnik showed up. Oh, I hope he's okay.
He's at my house.
All heads turned towards the door where Wade stood hunched over, bent at the waist. He was tied to a chair.
Wade, what the?
Tom said, rushing to his friend.
I tried to arrest that guy at the mean beam when Robotnik showed up. He looked like a vampire or something, but like if he was going to a dance club.
Wade said, breathing a sigh of relief as the chair fell away.
Anyway, after Sonic and the little fox boy left my garage, I went over to your house to see what happened. I found Ozzy in the woods and brought him to my place.
Wade to the rescue. Nice job, my dude.
The hedgehog said, zipping over to give the man a fist bump.
Thanks so much, Wade.
Maddie said, giving the man a quick hug.
We'll be by to pick him up when we have a chance.
She turned to the other two boys, who were just climbing out of the booth.
So, shall we go see what your new home looks like?
Tails nodded, with a wide smile spreading across his muzzle. Knuckles gave another curt nod.
Let's go then.